we may be getting a year 3 of Need for Speed Unbound. I honestly don't know if this is good news or bad news, considering the fact I'm pretty ready for a new Need for Speed game, and the fact that I can't even think of what they would add for yet another year. Personally, I think there isn't enough to add for a full year 3. Yes, they can add a bunch of stuff, but the problem is this stuff needs to be added more frequently than how it's being added now. And the higher level of things being released means there needs to be more content ready for updates in general. But I mean, we did have to wait for a fat minute between Heat and Unbound anyway, so it's not like this is new to us, right? The question is, if we do have to wait for a while, how do we know the game is even going to be good? People are projecting from 2027 to 2030, which is a very long time for a game to be released. Plus, with how EA is with their track record and games coming out unfinished on release, it isn't looking too hot for us. Remember that just because a game takes forever to make does not mean it will be the best thing out. If you want an example, just look at Test Drive, which is pretty terrible for taking 12 years to come out since the last game. This game took a decade to make and has some of the same problems games that take a year to make have. Anyway, this is being brought up because of a recent post from one of the people who is in charge of creating the new Battlefield, and I'll put the post out on the screen for you guys now. The same post that we went over in yesterday's video. Why are people saying year 3 might be coming to Unbound? Well, I'm glad you asked. Criterion is listed as a company that will be focusing on this game. Criterion is also the game studio that made Unbound. Based off the post, it seems that pretty much the entire studio will be focused on the new Battlefield, which will be releasing in 2025, next year, which means that majority of the team has definitely been working on it since 2045. Battlefield is a huge moneymaker for EA, and it honestly does make a lot of sense. They would pull all resources to make as good as a game as possible, especially if we consider how badly the previous game did on release. 2042 bombed. They probably don't want to make that mistake again. Going through a few other Twitter posts about the upcoming Battlefield game, the game's production started way back earlier this year, so it's safe to say a new Need for Speed game, if it was even being worked on, has probably been shelved completely. Also, I think at this point in the year 2024, another Need for Speed game would have been at least hinted at this point, which it is not. The only things that are still being talked about are Unbound, and for some reason the older Need for Speed games, which the community just can't seem to give up. There have been no title leaks, no confirmation from any devs, no pictures, anything. A lot of people may be thinking that of course there is nothing. It's too soon from the game's release, but I mean, Unbound has been out for 2 years now. Call of Duty drops every year. In the same year it drops, they seem to release the next title and pictures. But if a year 3 of Unbound is to happen, the updates need to be rolling out way quicker, and they need to have way more content than what we got for the first half of this cycle, which was year 1. There shouldn't be an update that adds Hot Laps Part 2 in one car. That was terrible and never should happen again. Every single update for the next year should pretty much be nothing short of insane and adding brand new content, not recycled content or renamed content. We have plenty of that already running around with the tracks they keep swapping in between tiers. Yes, I know about the small dev team. I've heard it 1,000,000 times and a half, but half of these updates have probably already been planned out and made months ago anyway. And to add on to it, the state that some of these updates drop, they probably weren't play tested either, but we're gonna leave that one alone. We've already broken down the updates, so we're not gonna dive back into that one. Or we could have one huge update that they can work on for a couple months and then let that be pretty much like an expansion, kind of like how the Crew Motorfest is about to do next month. A brand new city maybe. But let's be real here. From an outsider, it's looking pretty grim, because if we go back to the Volume 7 feedback post, they pretty much canceled out every idea the community had moving forward, including updates to single player and cars and game modes. They've already said a flat no to a lot of stuff people want. So what else is there to even do for year 3? What would they even add at this point? We have Drift and Drag, and we also have the Hot Pursuit mode as well. These are objectively the most hyped things we could have got. In my personal opinion, I think that the game is starting to seem milked, and all the stuff we want them to do that they didn't say no to isn't nearly as hype enough. One thing I will point out is that the things they said no to in the feedback were followed by this year. Maybe this is a hint that they will be doing a lot more for next year, but I don't want to get my hopes or anyone else's hopes up way too high. We need more concrete evidence for something like this. We all already know there will be another update for Volume 9, and it's been pretty much confirmed, secretly I guess. What is this update going to consist of? Your guess is as good as mine. I've heard things from a new game mode like hide and seek, think the new Forza update, to things as just a bunch of cars being dropped. The main point that I'm trying to make is that it doesn't really matter too much what is being dropped as long as it can maintain the hype of the game overall and keep the player base entertained. But how do you guys feel about a potential year 3? We have no concrete information on it yet, and that's fine since we haven't even had Volume 9 drop yet. Volume 8, Hot Pursuit, is still pretty new, and we gotta get all we can out of that first, so keep that in mind. I still want to hear you guys' thoughts on the whole thing, however, including Criterion being called to work on the new Battlefield. Let me know how you guys feel, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one.